So, you want to get your friends into Warhammer or Warmachine or Infinity, one of those fun tabletop games, but you're afraid it might be too much to take on all at once? Well, there's an easier solution. Get them into Marvel instead. So, how does Marvel get people into Warhammer? Well, simple. It gets them playing a tabletop game. And if you don't know what I'm talking about Marvel Crisis Protocol. This is, hands down, one of the best games to get somebody into wargaming that I have ever seen. Okay, and there's multiple reasons behind that. But the big ones are, it's simple to learn. Like, it really is. The starter box comes with everything you need to play and more than they needed to give you, but it's just a great value. Okay, and I'll go over that a little bit later. And then the other thing is that it's Marvel. I mean, people know Marvel. It's a big name. There's 1,000, Marvel movies and shows and different things like that. People know it and they like it. And so they'll be a little more inclined to try it out. And at $150 for the starter box, it's not a bad way to get someone into tabletop gaming, especially if it's someone a little younger who maybe isn't ready for grimdark or steampunk, but has moved on from Paw Patrol and needs something in between, where Marvel fits perfectly. So, how did I get into Marvel Crisis Protocol? Simple. In my ever-going journey to become a really good miniature painter, I decided it was time to paint something a little out of my wheelhouse. Not fantasy, not grim dark, not steampunk, but superheroes. And I love Spider-Man, and the Marvel Crisis Protocol model of Superman is awesome, and I will be painting it at a later date. I just want to do some kit bashing to it first. But I wanted to paint something, and so I decided, well, next best superhero, at least in this box, to me, was Captain America. And I thought, let's give Captain America a run. And this is how it turned out. So, as you all know, this is Captain America. And I've done something a little different this time. I've primed him gray. Granted, the gray I primed him is almost exactly the same as this, but you can see down here, a little bit different. And I'm hoping that'll help with making the lighter colors on him. And to start out, I am going to zenithal highlight him just with a dry brush. And try and get those points that I want to be a lot brighter. He's got fantastic definition in the muscle of his leg that I am really looking forward to including when I paint him. So that's where I'm going to start for right now. Now, once I've got my zenithal highlight done, which you can't really see in the camera, but when I'm holding it in my hands, I can see it enough, and I hope it's going to be a big difference. I'm going to start doing my base coat, and to do that, I've gotten out my blues that I'm planning on using this and a white so that I can just kind of alter it all on the fly. Now, I'm going to start with the darkest of my blues, because in my opinion, it's easiest to work up. And you don't have to do that. You can start with a mid-tone if you wanted to, and then put a dark wash down so that it falls into the cracks and does all those things, and then follow it up with doing your highlights. But I don't do a ton of stuff with washes. Not because I don't like them, just because, I don't know, it's not an accurate way to do things because you're basically just putting it all over stuff. And so I like to start with the darkest color that I'm going to be using, and then do highlights on top of that dark color. And so this is the old Signar blue from the P3 paints, which I freaking love because I think their coverage is fantastic. And as you can see, that's kind of a good indicator of that white coming through. Don't want to go too much over that. We'll hit it with another thin coat in a little bit and just kind of keep going around the rest of the unit. Okay, so now that I've gone around and gotten that blue just about everywhere I wanted, keep in mind it's not the cleanest job. I'm just trying to stick to the lines and get blue where it needed to be. And then I will clear that up when I do the next layers. And I started doing white. Now, the problem with painting white is that there's not anything brighter than white. And I forgot about this, and I want to do shading. I even looked at the actual, the card from the game. And I was looking at it, and if you can look right here, you can see that in there is gray as the shadow to the white. And so I thought, well, let's do the base coat gray. And so just grabbing my white and a darker gray, I just mixed them together until I got this gray, which is going to be the gray that I use to do the white parts first. And then I'll come through and I'll do highlights in that white color so that the white actually is brighter. So while I'm painting that, I mentioned earlier that it's a lot more of a simple game to get people into. And you might be wondering, how is it more simple? And I'll explain that. They take out some of the things that make tabletop gaming a little more difficult. And what I mean by that is you're moving single units. Everything is a single unit. Yes, they can have, Ultron can have his robots and things like that. And so there are other little things in the game, but for the most part, you're moving single units around. They're not using rulers. For measurements, they have these cool little things that come in the starter box, and your distances are small, medium, and large. And so movement is a lot easier because you're not using a ruler for everything. Even the blasts and things like that for like ranged attacks, they have rulers for those too. So everything you need is right there, and it's in its simplest form. Okay. One of the things I love about this game too is that it comes with character cards. Okay, and once you know what the little icons on the character cards stand for, it's the same for all the cards. And yeah, it's got a little bit of reading. Each character card has multiple abilities and multiple things that they can do, and there's definitely some things to this game that make it more complex. But that's the beauty of it too, because it's such a simple game to play, and you can leave out a lot of these things if you want to teach it to someone who's just starting. You can leave out leadership abilities, you can leave out a lot of stuff and just make it a move. You can use your attacks. This is how things work, and then go up from there. And in the game, I mean, it's generally good heroes versus bad heroes. There are quests and things like that you can do for each mission. And the cards for how to set it all up are super simple. It's literally one of those things that once you play through a couple scenarios, you know how to do it. You know how to set it up, and it's simple to teach anyone who's coming into the game. You can hand them everything and just start playing and just kind of show them as you go. Like, as far as like a tutorial game goes, this has got to be one of the best ones out there, because you're not having to pull up books or online resources to go over things, because basically everything you need to teach them is right in front of them. And that 2-player starter box comes with a rule book to give you a breakdown of everything. But this is honestly one of those games that you can watch an online tutorial, 15-20 minute video, and basically know what you're doing. And to me, that was huge. One of the added benefits of painting in gray is that you have the strength of that color going over stuff. So, and what I mean by that is that the gray itself, generally black has a lot of pigment in it. The darker the color is, the more pigment's in it, which means that it covers things up better. And so if there are those blemishes from underneath, as you put that gray on, it covers them right up, and you can't see nothing. Okay, and now we've got that gray, which you can't really tell because it matches the primer a lot, but that's okay. We're going to move on to the red. And again, I'm not doing just like a normal red color. I'm doing a sanguine red, which again is P3 paints, sanguine shadow, and it's freaking fantastic. And it's a dark, it's a maroon, but I'm going to be lighting it up with red a little later on. I got a fantastic red that I'm going to use just for that. And now, once you've got those base coats all down, and you notice that you totally missed the back of a boot, it is time to start hitting those highlights. Now, with most of the highlights being done and all the way around it, we've tried to lighten up those points that we could. It's not perfect, but in all reality, I think it looks pretty good. So I'm super happy with it. And we're going to move on to finishing with doing the face, a couple more highlights, just with the brightest uses of the colors that we want. But we got to do skin, we got to do eyes, and we got to do belt and the leather and the inside of that shield, and then this guy is just about done. Not perfect, not the most incredible model ever painted, but looks pretty good. Doesn't take a ton of time to get on the table. One of the things that I really liked about painting this was that I knew what the colors were going to be. I mean, because they're Captain America's colors, I didn't want to mess with that. And so that choice was not mine to make. I didn't have to, you know? And so just kind of sitting down and painting this, it was a lot of stress off of me, and I'm super happy with how it turned out. Can't wait to get this guy on the table. Painting Captain America has been really fun for me because he's not wearing armor. And I know that sounds dumb, but he's not. He's got a skin-tight suit on, and it's nice to be able to just paint the faces and shapes without having to deal with everything, you know, 1,000 little shapes and things like that. It's nice to be able to look at, honestly, the human form and just kind of paint it as it is. And all these superheroes are basically that way. And so it was really fun for me to paint Captain America. And for anyone who wants to get into this hobby, they're easier to paint. Like, I'm going to come out and say it. It's easier to paint Captain America than it is to paint Warhammer. And the reason for that is because you know their colors. You know what they look like. You know how to paint them. If the colors are off, it doesn't matter. It's still Captain America. I mean, if your paint job's terrible, if he's red, white, and blue, everyone's going to know who this is. So it's a great learning miniature to paint. And one of the things that I forgot to mention is that 2-player starter box, it comes with buildings, it comes with forklifts, it comes with cars, it comes with lamp posts, dumpsters, barrels, fuel, gas pumps. It comes with a lot of stuff that it doesn't have to come with, but it does, and it makes the experience that much better. So for me, Marvel Crisis Protocol, awesome place to start. I'm going to keep painting the miniatures because, like I said, I love Spider-Man. I want to paint him. I want to paint some of his villains. Doc Ock, incredible model. Incredible model. Okay? And if you want to see that, like, subscribe, stick around. I put out videos every week. Painting is my big thing. Could that change? Probably not anytime soon, but I like reviewing these games that I haven't played a lot of, and there's a lot of stuff out there. And like I said, this is a great stepping stone to any other game. And at $150 for the starting box, you can replay this game 100 times. There's different scenarios. You can do a lot of different things. This is hands down the best starting point that I have ever seen to get someone in to tabletop gaming. So, give it a shot. Like I said, like, subscribe, stick around. Hopefully we can make your tabletop gaming experience a little bit better. And as always, don't spend so much time building your world that you forget to spend some time in it. Until next time.